fuck am I watching right now? Hello, welcome back to the True Crime Guys podcast. I'm Warren.
And I'm Michael.
Back. Ready to do some more female killer? 4 in a row?
Yes. We did another Patreon.
Yep.
I mean, we did another female killer on Patreon last week, right? Magdalena Solis.
Yep. The High Priestess of Blood.
Yes,
we
the
did a
High
blood
Priestess
cult
of Blood.
On Patreon. Shocker.
That's right. So you missed the cult shit if you're not on Patreon.
That's right.
Patreon.com/truecrimeguys if you want to get in on that.
Yeah.
But we are back with another female killer. Man, we're on a roll.
The title of Gang Mom, if that doesn't entice you and make you want to understand what's going on here, and you just don't belong on this feed, I don't know what to tell you.
Right? Gang Mom's the best title we could have come up with for this.
Well, we ripped it off from the book, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to say that.
Don't go saying we came up with it
together.
Michael, we're going to get an email, a nasty email from the author of the book. That was such a brilliant title you came up with, Michael.
Yeah, so clever.
This is a case suggestion, by the way, from Steve G on Instagram, who slid into our DMs with this case suggestion. Thank you. That was a quick turnaround too. I think he messaged us like last week, like, "Hey, you guys should do this case," and we're like, "Yeah, we don't got one yet, so fuck it."
There you go. Sometimes it's all about the timing.
That's right.
It's all about the timing, like we always say. Timing's everything.
Yeah. But we did use a case or a book for this case. It's on Audible. If you are more of an audio-based book person like myself, the book is called
It's about
Gang
5
Mom.
hours.
Yeah, about 5 hours. But you can talk pretty slow, so you can at least 2x that bitch. There was times where I was 3xing it. But
Whoa.
you really can't like have any distractions. You have to zone in and just listen.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 times, dude. I don't think I've ever listened to a book on 3 times. That's booking it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no pun intended.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
That is booking it.
So the book is called Gang Mom, the evil mother whose gang secretly preyed on a city. And dang it, I forgot to put the author's name on the crime line. Hold on a second. The author.
Oh, no. We got to know the author's name.
Who we stole the name of this episode from.
And there's also some really good videos on YouTube too. If you guys want to check them out, there's some pretty good descriptions. There's also an interview with the victim's mother that I found very insightful on YouTube.
Fred Rosen is the author of the book.
Okay. Right on.
Yep.
Right on.
And I don't know why, but we've just been female killers every week. This makes 4 straight. Maybe next week we'll get back to the men. I don't know. But
let's just do a whole year of just female killers.
The year of the witch.
Right? What do they say? It's a woman's world moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So here we go. Let's show them all the bad ones.
Yeah, True Crime Girls, I think, is already a podcast. It's already taken, or else we could switch it.
Ah, damn it.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's do it, man.
So I had woke up on Monday morning listening to somebody screaming, and I thought Aaron had fallen asleep on the couch with the TV left on, which he does often. So when I got out to the living room, there was nobody there. And then I still heard his girlfriend at the time. She was in his bedroom and she was screaming that somebody had broke into his room and popped him, is what she said. And when I found out that it was more than just that, because there was blood on his bed and stuff, and got my phone, which back then, you could get phones with 50-foot cords. So I brought the phone all the way into his room and we called 911. And later on that morning, we found out that he had been shot at the back of the head. They had no idea who was responsible. They just thought, who would have come in there and shot this young boy for no apparent reason? 6'5", 250, and hair down to his waist. He was a helper of all.
All right, for our case this week, we are going up to Eugene, Oregon, where a murder occurs. And this would be on the morning of October 3rd, 1994. A hysterical mother calls 911 to report that her son had been gravely injured and was bleeding from the head. She didn't realize that her son had been shot in the head. She came into the room to the son's girlfriend hysterically crying and whatnot. And they see that, her son's head is bloody and it appears she thought he'd been beaten over the head with something. Upon their arrival, first responders found 18-year-old Aaron Iturra injured in bed, but still breathing. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital while officers began to investigate what they now seen as a shooting. They realized that he had an entry wound and an exit wound on each side of his head. He'd been shot in the back of the head, and the bullet had gone out of his forehead. And this was not a bludgeoning. This was a murder, basically, a shooting. Authorities quickly determined that someone had used a .38 caliber gun to shoot Aaron in the head. They were also able to recover a piece of a bullet. The gun itself was nowhere to be found, though. So they found a piece of the bullet. The gun's gone. There was no signs of a break-in, and nothing valuable had been taken, it seemed.
Not to mention his girlfriend laying in bed beside him, left unharmed.
Yes, so clearly a targeted attack, right?
Very targeted. Yeah, absolutely. There's no other way you can
can't slice it up any other
break
way,
this
right?
down.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he wasn't alone in bed at the time. His girlfriend had been sharing the bed with him and was unharmed. And the fact that this is a quote from the assistant DA, Steve Skelton. He said the fact that one person wasn't shot and the other was indicates that there's a motive to single a person out. Of course. Yeah. And police would begin their interviews with Aaron's mother, Janice Iturra, who explained that Aaron had gone into his room the night before with his girlfriend. And I believe he lived in the garage of the home as well. And so whoever came after him had scouted this out, known where he slept, and been able to enter the home quietly in the middle of the night and not break anything in the process getting into the home either. Now, I know Aaron's girlfriend liked to sleep with the window open because she liked fresh air or whatever. That ended up being the mode of entry. Was the window was already unlocked and open, and so they just came through the window.
Oh, I heard different. I heard that they were able to come through an unlocked door in the garage.
Okay, well,
interesting.
Yeah, you different sources and different theories, I guess you get, but
yeah, they could have escaped.
Something was clearly unlocked because there was no forced entry into this place.
Right.
It wasn't until 1:30 a.m. that anything out of the ordinary had happened. And this is according to Aaron's girlfriend. She said she heard, Aaron's mom said that she heard screaming coming from Aaron's room. When she rushed there, she found him bleeding and an apparent gash to his head, and his girlfriend was freaking out. Aaron was the oldest of 5 children, and he was a gentle giant standing at 6'5", 230 pounds.
Wow.
His father was Native American and actually still lived on a reservation. Part of why his parents didn't stay together is he was unwilling to leave the reservation. His mother didn't want to live there forever. He was someone who often looked after his younger siblings while his mother worked 2 jobs to support the family. Yeah, so she was obviously, super busy and needed Aaron's help. Her oldest always came through for her. He did have some run-ins with gangs as a teen, but largely rejected them and actually became a crusader against them. And that becomes a big part of this story. He was also an aspiring artist, and no one knew that, of any enemies that he had at the moment.
Right.
His mom recalled he was the protector. He watched out for everybody. And his mother and him were best friends. Weeks before the incident, Janice had separated from his stepfather, and she had leaned on Aaron during this time. So he did have a stepdad that was around for a long time, and they just recently split up a few weeks before this incident.
Yeah. So I guess, a lot more of the responsibility had fallen on his shoulders at that point. But, the oldest child, especially, and he's already the size of a man, that's for sure. 6'5", 230.
He's a big boy.
He was willing to step into those shoes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And also that speaks to speaks a little more to the fact that, he didn't have any enemies. Yeah, I bet not.
Yeah, really. Nobody did.
How many enemies?
Yeah, and apparently he did, but they, rather than choosing to take him on head on, they sneak into his room and shoot him while he's sleeping, of course.
Right, of course.
Really cowardly move.
Absolutely.
So after a night in the hospital, Aaron, whose scans showed no brain activity, would be taken off life support, and his organs would be immediately removed and utilized to save others' lives. His mother recalled that he had told her that if he died before her, that he would like his organs to be used to save others' lives. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that he was still breathing that long.
Yeah.
I mean, a shot to the back of the head, out the forehead, and yet you were still breathing for the whole trip to the hospital and enough to preserve these organs. That's kind of incredible.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It is. But yeah, the brain is so complex. It just, I guess, ultimately depends on what part it went through. It obviously, there was nothing left of him, his personality or anything like that. He was basically a vegetable, but his body, his autonomic nervous system was still operating and still pumping blood through his body and doing
That's
their job.
insane.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It really is.
So the police investigation into his shooting officially turned into a homicide case, and police would speak to his girlfriend, of course, the person closest to him at the time of his shooting. And after testing her hands for gunpowder residue, they were able to rule her out as a suspect as she began recounting what happened to Aaron before he was shot. She said that an unknown woman, this is creepy. So that night, before they go to bed, an unknown woman had called the house to ask if Aaron was home. And after Aaron's girlfriend responded yes, the phone was hung up. So this person just basically was doing roll call, checking to see if he was home.
Oh, shit.
Clearly had to have had something to do with this, right?
Absolutely.
That's too much of a coincidence.
Way too much.
She then described the shooting in more detail. She said she woke up after hearing a gunshot and believed that she had saw two males with their faces covered with bandanas. So everything's lining up. Now they know they have multiple suspects as well.
Yep.
And so police would begin to dig into the anti-gang activism that Aaron was doing. We mentioned that he was crusading against gang violence and things like that as a big part of his life. And suspecting that he maybe made some dangerous enemies in that way. It's not a far jump to make there for investigators. How could this not have had something to do with that?
Right. And the gang activity was seriously on the rise. We're talking mid-90s here in Oregon. And apparently, it was just blowing up in this small town of Eugene.
They found that he'd been working with another local activist named Mary Thompson, a mother known for speaking out about the harm gangs had done to her family and the community. 2 days after Aaron's shooting, the completed autopsy revealed that Aaron had died from a single gunshot wound to the back of the head. The bullet, as we mentioned, had exited out of his forehead. And the community was desperate for answers. Aaron's mother was left to grieve the sudden death of her son. However, police soon came across new information that shed light on an unexpected relationship in Aaron's life. Aaron had been hanging out at the time of his death. He'd been hanging out frequently with a 16-year-old boy named Beau Flynn, who coincidentally was Mary Thompson's son. So we mentioned how he was connected to this Mary Thompson person. She was involved in the anti-gang movement as well. She was kind of the leader in Eugene, Oregon of anti-gang behavior. She was doing seminars and all of this other stuff. We'll talk more about that. But she had a son named Beau Flynn, who was 16, who Aaron had been frequently hanging out with, and much because of Aaron Thompson pushing Aaron to hang out with Beau to keep him on the straight and narrow, basically.
These instances never go well. It's like it just sucks when a parent puts a child who they wish would rub off on their child.
Yeah.
But they don't think
sometimes
about
it goes the other way, right?
They don't. Yeah, they don't think about their horrible child because they're a parent. Rubbing off on this other person or putting someone innocent in danger. It's like, I don't know. There's bad seeds, and sometimes it's your fault as a parent.
Yep.
Sometimes.
So Mary Thompson had actually asked Aaron to keep a close watch on Beau and help him stay out of trouble because Beau had really gotten deep into this gang behavior. He even had like a gang name, and he was one of the founders of this local gang that was wreaking havoc in Eugene.
Yeah.
Granted, it's still it's some white kid shit. It wasn't. They took a name from a Southeast LA gang and made it theirs in Oregon, and I don't know. I mean, that's not to take away from the criminal activity they were doing. They were, but
about to say, I mean, they're shooting people in their sleep. That's pretty.
Yeah.
They didn't really pose this murder. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They went through with this shit.
Yeah. So Mary's asking Aaron to keep a close eye on her son, Beau, and unfortunately, he was unsuccessful in that venture. Because 3 weeks before he was shot, Aaron and Beau were hanging out together when they encountered a group of teens, one of whom had history with Beau. An altercation ensued, and Beau Flynn pulled out a knife on the other teen, cutting him and landing both himself and Aaron in jail. It's kind of what you were talking about. Sometimes it ends up with, the kid you're trying to keep your kid straight ends up going down for some shit because of them.
Also, what's really frustrating about this whole encounter is I don't know. I can't tell really by the pictures that you can find of Beau Flynn online. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see. But he looks like a pretty big boy. Also, Aaron, 6'5". This teen that they attacked was 14 years old. 14 years old.
Yeah.
So you have a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. And you decide the only way to deal with this threat is to stab him. It's like just the extreme violence that they resorted to immediately just lets you know what kind of person Bo is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you could have just, I mean, even if this kid was threatening you or threatening violence or whatever, you could beat the shit out of him. You're two freaking giants. Like what? I just don't understand this situation.
It doesn't seem as though Aaron helped at all, to be fair. I don't know what, obviously we weren't there. He goes down because he's there and he's a part of it and he's an accessory. You've watched enough true crime stuff over the years to know that if you're at the scene of a crime with the person who you're in the car with someone, when they shoot at someone, you're going down too. That's how it works. But
yeah. And also his presence, being the big intimidating person that Aaron was, his presence probably bolstered Bo to be more aggressive.
Oh, I'm sure he
Sometimes
did.
you'll see that.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, you'll see some guys, like, they talk a lot of shit when their friends are around, especially if they're big dudes. And then when they're by themselves, it's a different story. Yeah. Maybe this doesn't even happen if Aaron's not there. I'm not blaming him at all. I'm just saying Bo used him in the complete opposite way that his mother thought he was going to.
Yeah. Well, this lands them both in jail. And following the incident, Aaron decided, because he didn't have anything, he didn't take part in the stabbing. He didn't want Bo to do that. He decided he would testify against Bo in the case, which could potentially land Bo Flynn in a 4-year sentence behind bars. And this is leading up to Aaron being shot. So obviously you can tell there's a connection here. He's going to testify against a kid and put him behind bars, and now he gets shot in the middle of the night.
Well, I mean, I would too. I'm 18 years old. I'm going to get tried as an adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Bo's only 16.
Yep.
He's not even going to be tried as an adult. Like, it's like you can totally understand Aaron's point of view here. And Aaron didn't want to be a part of this.
Right.
He didn't want to be a part of this from the start. He's like, I'm not going down. I'm not going to adult prison.
Yeah. Because you wanted to stab some fucking homie in the streets.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a chance, man. Not a chance.
So now police are starting to put this together. Obviously, this had to have had something to do with him getting shot. Aaron was due to testify mere days before he was killed, and police began to wonder if Bo had something to do with Aaron's death. However, he was in jail at the time, so it couldn't have been him. He was in jail awaiting their trial or whatever.
Right.
And so the police went to visit Bo while he was in jail, and Bo maintains his innocence, and because police had no evidence suggesting otherwise, they were forced to look elsewhere for suspects. So during the course of their investigation, investigators caught wind of two teens, Jim Elstad and Joseph Brown, who were overheard bragging about killing Aaron, about the shooting. That's the thing about these young juvenile teen gang members, right? They can't do shit and not talk about it. They got to fucking brag about it. Yeah, nowadays they're posting this shit on fucking Snapchat, dude. Like,
right?
all these illegal weapons they got. It's just like, okay.
It's the world we live in, Lauren. You know that if you're not sharing it with somebody, it didn't happen.
Yeah, just like if you like gave money to homeless or like donated or something, if you didn't post it on social media, what's even the point?
Right? You didn't video yourself going and buying that homeless man a new pair of Nikes?
Exactly.
What did it even happen?
Right.
God, what are you doing it for? Goodness of your heart, asshole.
Right. So these two were caught bragging about killing Aaron, and they were known to spend they already had a connection to Mary Thompson, who also had a connection to Bo, who also had a connection to Aaron. It's all coming together. The spiderweb, whiteboard you picture in the detective's office. Yep. Elstad and Brown were known to hang out at Mary Thompson's house, and Thompson often took kids who were involved in violent lifestyles. She was playing herself up to be this bridge between gang youth and law enforcement. She was playing both sides. She was in tight with law enforcement, also in tight with a bunch of gang members,
right?
And like bringing them together, I guess. But we'd come to find out she was like the leader of the gang. It was just batshit crazy.
She could blend in wherever she was, a lot like the chameleon killer, right? That we covered a few weeks ago.
Master manipulator, this woman.
Yes, absolutely.
So she admitted to keeping that bit of information from police, the fact that she, hung out with these two killers, and also the fact that her son was Bo Flynn. She didn't come clean about that right away. The police found that out on their own.
Right.
She claimed to have done so because she hadn't believed them at the time. And she didn't believe them because they had already come to her like the morning after the murder and basically told her what they had done. And she actually drove with them to get rid of the gun in the water of the bridge or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So...
yeah, she justified all this by saying, like, if you push back you know, if you push back against this type of behavior, the kids are just going to rebel
Mm.
and leave. So you have to kind of meet them halfway. It's like,
Or enable is another
yeah,
word for that.
enable.
Yeah.
You are enabling.
We've all
them, like,
watched Intervention, right? There's always some fucking shithead mom or aunt or somebody that just like keeps
Yeah.
feeding them pills or whatever it is that they're into.
yeah,
Without that
because
enabler, they're too pathetic to go like fix them, you know,
yeah,
too pathetic to go get the drugs they need or whatever half the time.
yeah,
And they'd be
and
forced
that
to get clean.
enabler will do anything for that relationship.
Yeah.
You know, whereas like, you know, a single mother who wants to keep a good relationship with her older son, you know,
Yeah.
might go to crazy extents like this. But I think she was doing this for herself.
Oh, 100%. This was like
Yeah,
Breaking Bad
we'll
shit.
find
She was
out.
obsessed with
Yeah.
like the feeling it gave her, the power that she
Yeah.
had. She's the hero to the community, and then she's also like cool with the gang.
Yeah,
This lady
she's
is
more like
something.
she's more like Gus from
Gus
Breaking
Fring.
Bad.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
she had a
more like
better
Gus
public
Fring.
image, right?
Yeah, much
True.
better.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so
Crazy.
these two that were bragging about the murder, Elstad and Brown, were called in for a police interview. And while they initially maintained their innocence, they cracked pretty quickly after being given polygraph tests and failing them. Hours later, the pair both confessed. And they found
Mhm.
out the story that Brown was the lookout while Elstad was the one who pulled the trigger. But this story that they tell lines up with the girlfriend, you know, with them wearing bandanas and both being in the room.
Right.
And they claimed that they had done it because they were angry with Aaron for agreeing to testify against Flynn, Bo Flynn. So basically,
Well,
exactly what you'd expect. He was going to
yeah.
testify against their friend or whatever. But also,
They
I
came
mean,
clean.
it's hard to imagine Mary not playing a role in this. I mean, did they get a nudge or a nice shove to go kill Aaron so that
definitely.
Mary's son Bo wouldn't go down?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not putting this together themselves and just being like, Bo's such a good friend of ours. We should
Right.
go kill the one witness.
Thank you. Yeah, 100%.
No, that's not happening.
So Elstad and Brown were arrested in October, and it seemed like the case was coming to a close. However, things took a strange turn after Aaron's mother received a call from Mary Thompson, who was close to the family and who had been supporting them during this time. During that phone call, Thompson told Janice that Aaron would have never been killed if he had just kept his mouth shut.
Why make this phone call?
Because you want to taunt her. You want to taunt her.
Because
you're evil.
yeah, because like you said earlier, you enjoy being the badass.
Yep.
You enjoy, yeah, this is a rush.
Yep.
And
just like the kids that were bragging about killing Aaron, right? Same exact thing. She can't just keep it to herself. She has to boast about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what good? Once again, what good is being
there.
a gang member if you're not going to brag about the shit you do? You know, there's no
That's
point.
right.
That's the whole point.
That's right. She wanted people to fear her.
Yeah.
She absolutely did.
Yeah.
She got off on it.
And so Janice, whose son who was just killed, and now has this woman who she thought was a friend and confidant, and they were in the part of the same mission and whatnot, is calling to boast about how if her son had just kept his mouth shut, he would be still alive. She says, quote, "I'm just like, did I just hear her say what I think I heard her say?" And so, of course, she reported this strange statement to police who already had their suspicions about Mary. And so they would call back Mary for questioning, intending to find out why she'd kept valuable information from them early in the investigation, like the fact that she had already had the two killers come to her home the next morning and tell her what they had done, and then the fact that she took them out to get rid of the gun.
Yes.
She's clearly a part of it, even if they couldn't prove that she commissioned them to do it, made them do it. She still helped them get rid of the weapon. She knew what they had done, and she didn't go to police immediately. So nonetheless, she has to get jail time for this.
Absolutely. And it is confirmed at this point by both of the boys' testimonies that they were in a gang with her son.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, she has so much to gain from this murder.
Yep.
So much.
So although Thompson admitted to being angry about Aaron working with prosecutors, police had no evidence against her and were forced to let her go initially. But they were not convinced of her innocence and began to dig more deeply into her past. And they discovered that she had quite a troubled history. And this is where we'll go into Mary Thompson, who actually was born Mary Faulkner. Kind of a meet the parents type last name there.
Yeah, seriously, it's pretty edgy. Faulkner.
Mary Faulkner.
Mary Faulkner, damn it.
So
she should have just kept that last name.
So Mary Faulkner was born on November 23rd, 1954 in Massillon, Ohio. She shares a birthday with Miley Cyrus, or I like to call Smiley Virus, and John Schnatter, aka Papa John, who's one of my favorite characters ever.
Papa John?
No one had a larger fall from grace than John Schnatter, Papa John. You ever see this, the way he fell apart? He got like, did you hear about how he got canceled and all that stuff?
No,
You seem like you're just completely oblivious to the whole
I
Papa
am.
John story. It's quite a ride to go down. He's on top of the
I
world.
am.
He's in every commercial. Papa John, the big
Right.
smile and all that.
Yeah.
Well,
Better
he was
ingredients,
in some
better
sort
pizza.
of a behind the scenes Papa John's work meeting and was dropping the N-bomb and was like,
Oh.
yeah, there was like audio. I think there was audio of it that got put out there and whatnot. It was like a phone call. And
Oh,
anyways,
Jesus.
he got canceled and then he just fell apart, just completely fell apart. Like now there was like interviews of him like a year later after that, after he'd been canceled, and he was just like double the size and like meat sweats and was just like, I've eaten 5 pizzas a day ever since. And the quality, he was basically complaining about Papa John's falling apart ever since his absence because the quality control is not there. He's like, I've eaten 5 Papa John's and they're not the same. It's a complete mess. Oh, it's so fun.
Who did they get now? Who is their spokesperson? Isn't it like Shaq or
Oh
somebody?
yeah, you know what? Shaq, yeah, I think you're right.
I think it is Shaq.
Shaq owns a bunch of Papa John's. He owns like he's
Oh.
like a chain store member. Like he owns.
That's
some of them.
hilarious.
Yeah. Anyways,
I'm glad they put Shaq in
bro,
there.
you gotta
That's funny.
you gotta. We almost could do an episode on Papa John.
So there was no one more famous than Papa John to put in here?
No, he was by far my favorite option. I mean, there was some people.
Sometimes
It was like politicians
I'll-
and shit. Fuck them.
I'm about to say, sometimes I like to look at the birthday just to see which ones you pick.
Yeah, exactly. The
Like,
ones
you
that
picked
matter:
these people.
Smiley Virus and John Schnatter.
The smiley virus. Oh, shit.
Anyways,
You're terrible.
yeah. So, her mother. So she was born in 1954, and
Okay.
she was born in Ohio, and obviously ends up in Oregon much later. Her mother, Ethel Fokker, it's Fockler. Sorry, but I just can't stop saying
Yeah.
Fokker.
I know, that's hilarious.
She was a nurse with 3 children. She already had a 12 and 17-year-old set of boys and a 16-year-old daughter at the time of Mary's birth. And this was a complete accident, having Mary. She had wrongly assumed that she was too old to have any more children. And life will play a sick joke on you if that's what you think.
Right. And then also this, oh man, the young, we've done quite a few cases where the killer or the troubled person is the youngest by far.
Yeah,
in their
and spoiled,
family.
right?
And spoiled,
Mhm.
and also left to their own devices a
Yes.
lot more.
Yes.
because
DuPont,
the
John
parents are
DuPont.
older. Mhm.
John DuPont comes to mind, and then the Jinx
Yep.
Robert Durst, doesn't he? Wasn't that a similar situation where he was kind of lonely his whole life, right?
yes.
Like had all this money
think
and
he-
was just bored.
Yeah, I think he had like parents that were
Much
they were
older,
pretty-
right?
Yeah, much older when he was born.
Yep.
So they kind of left him to his own devices, not to mention all the money.
Yeah.
And of course, the older you are, typically the more comfortable financially you are.
Mm-hmm.
Typically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Her father was a steel worker at a local mill, and Mary, by all accounts, was spoiled. This is according to herself, according to her siblings. And this is a quote from Mary herself about her childhood. She said, quote, I remember one time the ice cream truck was coming and my father asked me what flavor I wanted. I said strawberry, blueberry, and banana. And he got me all of them. And then like when her brother tried to like ask if she could have a little bit, she just screamed and obviously got her way. As a teenager, she had her mother completely fooled as well, that she was this perfect angel. And her mother, for one of her birthdays, bought her a red sports car. Something tells me the older siblings didn't get that,
no, probably not.
Yeah.
They're probably pissed.
Her older sister couldn't fucking stand her. She testifies against her in a minute. I shit you not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. But like I said, the parents are in a completely different mindset by the time she's born.
Yeah, and the story of her older brothers is pretty tragic. We're going to get into that right now. So in 1960, it turns out there's another murderer in this group of siblings.
Yeah.
In 1967, Mary's older brother Bobby walked into the pizza place where his wife worked, pulled out a gun, and shot her dead. And he was actually driven there by her other older brother, Joel. The two of them drove to this pizza joint and killed Bobby's wife. And so he was.
And it was.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, fun fact: it was actually a Papa John's.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just
I'm eating 5 pizzas a day. These are not the same.
kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
So he's put away for murder the following year. And not long after that, there was a riot at Bobby's prison that was broadcasted over the news. And fearing for his son's safety within the prison, Mary's father had a heart attack during this, and he would die a week later. A month after that, Mary's older brother Joel, who had been the one to drive Bobby to the pizza place on the night of the murder, filled with guilt about his brother's conviction and his father's death, because of the conviction, tried to kill himself by shooting himself in the chest with a rifle. However, his shot wasn't fatal, and instead it hit his spinal cord, leaving him paralyzed from the waist down.
Oh my God.
Quite a run with your family there. Your brother kills his wife, goes to prison. Your father has a heart attack because of it, and then your other brother tries to kill himself and ends up paralyzed.
Ends up something worse than death.
Yeah.
Wow. God, that's worst case scenario for a suicide, isn't it?
No, I've heard of much worse. I mean, actually, there was someone through my family, kind of like extended, like, I don't know, you have to go like four levels deep, right?
Okay.
Like my niece's, what was it? My niece's, somebody's uncle, whatever. Anyways, tried to kill himself, shot himself in the face and lived. That's pretty bad. Like, kind of like half there now, like damaged his brain and things like that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, pretty bad. Anyways,
I know a person who tried to commit suicide through the abdomen as well, tried to shoot like in the bottom of the chest, like up through the heart, and it went straight through, punctured one of the lungs, came out the back, and did no damage other than just a terrible scar and a reminder. Like, it's like a huge hole in his chest, and then like he has reduced lung capacity, but that's it. That's it.
And is he happy that
fine.
things worked out the way they did?
Last time I talked to him, yeah. He was he was like in his late 50s, early 60s.
I came across a guy on Instagram who's pretty popular, who is a suicide survivor, and he's very outspoken about, mental health and all that stuff, and turned it into a major positive, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, same thing with the one I was talking about, his face, like half his face is clearly, he tried to shoot himself in the face.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Get help if if you're struggling like that, obviously.
Absolutely. Please.
So Mary, the spoiled kid, as she got older, it only got worse. She began to take advantage of her mother, stealing furniture and passing bad checks in her mother's name as she got older. She tried to go to college a couple times, dropping out and getting in with a bad crowd. Mary's sister, Judy, who, is much older, 16 years older, convinced her to get therapy. She could tell that her younger sister was trouble. She was going through a lot of stuff. Mary did try to get help briefly and didn't pan out, and she ended up slitting her wrists in a suicide attempt. Judy, her older sister, then had her committed to a mental hospital before Mary got a lawyer and got herself released from the hospital.
Wow.
She then, of course, joined the army, as most of our suspects or cases do, are the people in our stories.
Yep. But that didn't last long.
Didn't last long. She didn't work out. Surprise, surprise. She was released on a psychiatric discharge from the army.
Man, someone who's done whatever they want their whole life goes into the army and doesn't like it. Shocker.
Yeah. They're not going to give you all 3 flavors of ice cream you want, Mary. It's not going to happen.
They ain't going to give you none, bitch.
Yeah. Mary then fell in with the Hell's Angels in the 70s.
This is a crazy life.
It really is. If she didn't turn out to be like a ringleader in a murder gang, she could have just written an interesting book on her life, really.
I know.
Yeah. So she was in tie with this, I guess it was the Hell's Angels. I don't want to slander anything. We've done a whole episode on them, by the way, on Patreon.
Yeah. Fun one.
So she's hanging out with them all the time. And one evening at the clubhouse, she wound up having sex, allegedly, with a number of bikers. I've heard as many as 32.
Holy shit.
Yeah. 5 end up in court because of this. During, whatever was going on in this club that night, she was nude. And her dog was present at the motorcycle, at this hangout. And there was another dog, of course, and they got into a fight. And Mary stumbles out in the street after this dog scuffle, and she's nude and she's seen by others. And basically, it sounds like she was upset with them over the dog situation and just turns it into telling everyone she's been gang raped by this group of bikers.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we're not trying to act like any girl that says that is lying, but in her case, she's a habitual liar, and she was proven to be a liar in this scenario in court.
Right. And the way that I envision this scene is like she comes out of the house, the clubhouse or whatever it is, right? Nude. And you're messing with these dogs, trying to separate these dogs. It's like, well, if you were getting raped, wouldn't you just run away?
Yeah. You wouldn't be worried about a dog fight at that point.
You're out by yourself messing on the property with dogs. It's like if you were getting raped, you would probably leave, especially if you got that much freedom.
Yeah. So authorities would listen to her and bring charges against the accused individuals, which I believe was about 5. And they would go to trial for this. And during trial, it became clear that Mary was a manipulator and a liar. And in fact, her own sister testified in the defense of the bikers and called Mary a compulsive liar and a manipulator.
Wow. Her own sister.
Her own sister. Yeah.
That speaks volumes.
Yeah.
But her sister never did like her, though.
True. So following being exposed for her false rape accusations, Mary Faulkner decided it was time for a change of scenery and moved to Eugene, Oregon. Not clear why she chose Eugene, Oregon. Not really that close to Ohio, where she was from. Maybe that's why.
That's probably the point.
Maybe that was why she just went as far west as she could go.
Yeah.
Until she hit, until she like started to hit water. I don't know.
Right, right.
There
I'm sure it's more affordable than California.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, true. So in Eugene, she married an older man and obtained a new last name of Thompson, which helped her out because it kind of separated her from her past in Ohio.
Yep.
She then would have her son named Bo, who obviously plays a large role in this case. And in Eugene, Mary seemingly appeared on the scene out of nowhere and became a staple in the city's anti-gang movement in 1991 after her son Bo had been sucked into that very lifestyle. So it seems like through the 80s, she lives kind of quiet as her son's real little. But then as her son hits his early teens, that's when he gets into the gang life, and then she takes it upon herself to become a crusader against that.
Yeah.
We mentioned how Eugene was struggling with gang violence at the time. I don't know how it is now, but it's the book talked about its location playing a role in that. The fact that it's right, the I-5 runs through it and it connects both Portland and California together. So you get a lot of major city travel go through it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. What were you going to say a minute ago?
Oh, I was just going to say it's funny that, right around the time she gets married to this other man, right? Her name changes to Thompson, and she has Bo around this time, correct?
Yeah.
Well, Bo's last name is Flynn.
Yeah. I don't know.
So who's the daddy?
Yeah, I don't know,
because
man. Even in reading this book, there was some things that weren't entirely clear. Like she's a woman of mystery. I don't know.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
She had somebody on the side or something, because why would she give Bo the last name Flynn? That's not her maiden name even. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't think she was the most likely to stay true to a man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. She wasn't very loyal.
Yeah. So who knows where Bo came from as far as like who his dad is.
Right, right.
So yeah, her son Bo, though, by the age of 13 had helped to form the 74 Hoover Crips, taking the name Bishop, and he landed himself in juvie for various gang related crimes. And quote, Mary was quoted in the community at the time saying, "If it could happen to my family, it could happen to yours." And this is when she becomes the public face of the anti-gang movement in Eugene, Oregon.
Right.
She even gained a close relationship with law enforcement, a detective in the gang unit named Rick Rayner specifically. And she was appointed as a member of the gang task force with no like actual degrees or anything in criminal justice or anything like that.
Yeah.
And in fact,
she's all in.
Yeah. And in fact, coming from another state where she was on trial for gang rape accusations that she was proven to be a liar in. She didn't look into that past.
Well, her name had changed too.
Yeah.
So, like you said, that really helped her. And in the 90s, they're not looking up this stuff.
Yeah.
And a mother who's concerned about her child, who's going to question that?
True. Yeah, I mean, you see a picture of her, she looks harmless. She looks like
she does.
Anyone's mom.
Like really a librarian or
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's a perfect cover.
She looks like a substitute teacher.
Yeah, substitute teacher that you would take advantage of.
Yeah, right. And you'd be wrong because she's sicker boys on you.
That's right.
So she educated herself on gangs, and I mean, apparently she could walk the walk and talk the talk. She knew all the slang. She knew all the different types of guns. She knew it all. She was living the life. But also, on the police's side, this was helpful for her to get in with them and be able to bridge that gap and give them this insider info on what are they up to, how are they, when they say this, what do they mean, yada yada.
Right. Yep. And what they know, most importantly, which is nice.
Yeah.
She can kind of keep her thumb on what the police know about her son and his gang activity as well.
Yeah. So she's actively promoting herself to the media as an anti-gang activist, and the local newspapers began to call her gang mom. She became like a mom to these individuals, the kids and we're talking about, middle class kids, boys and girls who were sucked into the gang lifestyle. And she was kind of bridging that gap. Now, following the murder of Aaron Iturra, police began to think that the two teens that killed him didn't come up with this idea on their own. Obviously, perhaps they'd had a push from Mary, who had something to gain from Aaron disappearing before he could testify against her son. And so as they dug into her past, they discovered a lot of things we talked about and some more. They discovered that she'd been involved in criminal pursuits that included selling meth while she was actually working with an assistant to those prosecuting drug dealers. She really got off on this double life, right? This two-faced persona thing, like you said, Gus Freen, very much like that, where she's a member. She's helping in law enforcement while also selling meth and running a gang.
She's hiding in plain sight.
Yep.
She's the perfect definition. And like we just talked about, her appearance was so non-threatening. I mean, that at first glance, she fooled a lot of people.
Yep. Assistant DA Skelton said, quote, "It was definitely shocking. She was a crime fighter in the community, trusted, and then had engaged in that kind of behavior. You never would have expected that." Police, now suspecting Mary may have actually been the one to orchestrate Aaron's murder, began listening into Bo's conversations in the hopes of getting more info. And while they initially believed Bo was the gang leader, it quickly became clear it was actually his mother who'd been calling all the shots, orchestrating various crimes with practiced ease. Even more shockingly, during another confession among gang members, Mary referenced having arranged Aaron's murder while threatening someone else. So she's now using Aaron's murder as a means to scare others, saying, "You saw what happened to Aaron.
Yeah.
Don't let it happen to you."
Yep.
Yeah, they're seeing these text messages. They tap her phone and start listening to conversations, and she's making hundreds of calls in a week. Almost all of them are related to criminal activity. She's literally running a criminal enterprise out of her home while being a murder suspect, at least involved in a murder.
Like I said, it's crazy. It's a lot harder to check phone records back then, though.
Yeah.
She's still using a landline to do all this.
Yeah, but you can tap them, man. We already knew that. That was some
Well, that's true, but you have to suspect them first.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to suspect.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah, so they hear all these phone calls and they start to target some of the people that she's communicating with, some of these gang members, and they arrest a few of them. Obviously, they have plenty to arrest them for. And they're holding these charges against them, hoping that at least one of them would turn against Thompson, and they got their wish. In exchange for their immunity, one gang member, Lisa, who Mary had taken in years back, spilled everything she knew about Mary, claiming that it was Mary who had influenced the boys to kill Aaron in order to protect her son. Quote, "Mary Thompson was absolutely a master manipulator. That was demonstrated many, many times." So the jig's up. Now armed with ample evidence and a witness as well, willing to testify, Mary Thompson was finally charged with aggravated homicide in February of 1995. And after pleading guilty to Aaron's murder, Joe Brown was sentenced to 10 years, while Jim Elstad was sentenced to 16 years. What's crazy is she obviously commissioned these two boys to go kill Aaron, and then she just threw them under the bus too. She immediately, as soon as it was clear that they connected her to this whole situation, to these two boys they were seen at her house all the time, she's just like, yeah, they came and told me that they killed him, and I was surprised. I couldn't believe it. She's trying to just let them take the fall for everything.
Oh, absolutely. Well, she's thinking they're minors, That's part of using minors in gangs. Gang activity. They know they're not going to serve much time. I mean, that's just a strategic thing that I think gangs do. And she's someone who's been around gangs for as long as she has.
Yeah,
it's common sense to her.
All they said at the time, I think all they said at the time was that she had mentioned something like it would be great if Aaron died if something happened to him. That was their story. They said that she didn't directly tell them to do it, but that was part of their motivation, was like their gang mom, if you will, this woman who helps them out all the time. She wanted Aaron gone, so they took it upon themselves at that point.
And there was no reward.
Not sure why they would still defend her like that. Maybe that is really how it went down. But nonetheless, she definitely played a role in it, and then she helped them get rid of the weapon and everything else.
Or maybe she was running a damn drug enterprise as well and paying them under the table.
Oh yeah, all kinds of shit was going on.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, so Mary, who pleaded not guilty, of course, she's not going to admit any wrongdoing, was convicted nonetheless in 1996 and sentenced to life in prison for aggravated murder. Now they found a legal loophole, her and her attorneys, which saw her sentence get reduced. It had something to do with the verbiage of aggravated murder, some loophole, and she still ends up serving 23 years. But the moral of the story is she's out. 2019, she was released, and she walks among us as we speak.
Yeah,
Gang
I think
mom.
it had something to. I think it had something to do with the fact that the case was being held in juvenile court because the killers were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And so aggravated murder was not an option.
I think that's exactly what it was. Yeah, the book explained it.
Yeah.
It kind of went over my head. Obviously, didn't go to law school.
Yeah. So, and like you say, the verbiage it's ridiculous though.
Yeah.
If you have a witness killed, I don't care who does it and how old they are, the sentence should be carried out to the full extent of the law. Like,
yeah.
I mean, what does it matter? Someone still died.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that that 16-year-olds did it. Like this, Aaron is gone.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they knew damn well what they were doing. They were old enough to understand.
Absolutely.
Damn well.
Absolutely.
That's why they got rid of the gun. That's why they snuck in the middle of the night.
Yeah, they should have been tried as adults. You want to be adults, you want to be big boys in a gang, then you should be tried that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. It's a crazy story. It's aggravating. And like we said, if you want to know a little bit more about this, there are interviews with Aaron's mom on YouTube, and she really explains the process and what went wrong in the court system, because she still is fighting for these types of things to be changed and to be re-acknowledged in our justice system. It's just one of the many flaws of our justice system.
Yeah.
But yeah, heartbreaking case. Crazy, man. Gang mom.
Yeah.
Gang mom. But also check out the book on Audible, right?
Yeah.
5 hours.
Yeah. Gang mom. Check it out.
Yeah, check it out. And also, you want to check out our sponsors.
That's right.
Right, Lauren?
Oh my Gaia.
Oh my Gaia. Like Oh My Gaia, which is an innovative, all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while still maintaining effectiveness. And guys, Oh My Gaia, they have tons of scents to choose from: vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, Egyptian musk, coconut, dreamsicle, leather, lumberjack. Of course, there's Sweet Pea, Sailor, Barbershop, and True Crime Pine. If you don't know where to start with our very own True Crime Pine. And because you're True Crime Guys listeners, you can get 15% off your order at ohmygaia.com. That's OHMYGAIA.com, or at shop_ohmygaia on Instagram. If you follow True Crime Guys on Instagram, a lot of times we'll share stories with Oh My Gaia. Lauren's showing you some of the jars that they come in if you're on the YouTube video right now. And
got my product.
Yeah, that's right. That's how the product looks. It comes in these perfect size little glass jars. There's also scented oils and beard oils in all of these scents. So guys, you won't regret it. Make a positive, fresh, organic change with your life, for your health. And at ohmygaia.com. And again, use code word CREEPER for 15% off. And that's OHMYGAIA.com. Links below the description of this episode.
Also, check out our other weekly sponsor, Tonic CBD. Here's a couple of bottles of the product here. Always got to keep some on hand. It's true, not all CBD products are created equal. From how the hemp is grown and processed to how it's formulated and delivered into your body, every step of the process that goes into making the product affects your ultimate experience with it. That's why Tonic's products really stand out. Founder Brittany Carbone created her original formulas using CBD, adaptogens, herbs, and superfoods back in 2017, and has been working to deliver the most effective, intentional, and sustainable products possible ever since. They cultivate their own hemp on their certified organic family farm in upstate New York. That hemp travels only 30 minutes to their state-of-the-art manufacturing and distribution facility, where it's turned into a finished product and sent to you, ensuring only the highest quality vibes at every stage of the process. They have a bunch of different blends. As you can see, I've got some chill here, and then I've got some grounded as well. Those are my two favorites. But they have a bunch of different blends that are available. Some of them have ashwagandha, lemon balm, passion flower, you name it, black seed oil. So you can find which blend works for you. And it's easy to verify the quality of their products too. There's a microchip on the product's packaging. You download an app and tap your phone on there, and it'll tell you third-party lab reports. It'll tell you product information, details about the farm, all of the ingredients in it. So with values rooted in quality, integrity, and sustainability, Tonic is committed to creating plant-based wellness products that are good for you and good for the planet. Visit tonicvibes.com to learn more and use code word CREEPER for 20% off your order. That's tonicvibes.com, code word CREEPER.
Right on. Right on. And guys, also check us out on Patreon. If you haven't yet, patreon.com/truecrimeguys. For just $5 a month, you get access to everything we create, including our Vault episodes. Our first 50 episodes are in the TCG Vault and are available on Patreon if you'd like to hear how the show began, how it all started, as well as every Patreon exclusive that Lauren and I do every single month. Also, strange and unexplained content, Sandu stories, strange shorts, and so much more, guys. All on Patreon, waiting for you for less than a price of coffee. And also, check us out on YouTube. True Crime Guys on YouTube. So go subscribe to our official True Crime Guys YouTube channel. If you're listening on podcast, go check that out. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube right now, go subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen, so you guys can take us with you in the car or wherever you're going.
That's right.
All right.
That about does it. I think we're gonna go do some Just the Banter for the Patreon people. Right. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Keep creeping.
Keep creeping, guys. From the minds of True Crime Guys, come
TCG Weekly. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to check out all the other programs on the TCG network. Every Wednesday, a new episode of True Crime Guys proper, Strange and Unexplained on Mondays, and Full House Fantasy Football on Fridays to start your weekend. And if those aren't enough, head on over to our Patreon account, where you can have access to hundreds of hours of content, including older episodes and other Patreon exclusives like Strange Shorts, Sandu Stories, Higher Thoughts, and the 5-Minute Murder Show. But until next time, guys, keep creeping. Hey, how do you shut this thing off? Over?
You hush your mouth, boy.